Hello, everyone, and welcome to Feel Learns English. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and joining me today. I'm truly happy that you are here. It means a lot to me that you chose to spend your time improving your English, and I really appreciate your support. Before we begin, I want to say something important. If you enjoy learning English through natural conversations, real-life examples, and deep, meaningful practice, please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Every like, comment, and subscription helps this channel grow. More importantly, it helps English learners from all around the world improve their confidence and reach higher levels of fluency. Today's lesson is created especially for learners who want to move toward C1 and C2 levels of English. These are advanced levels. At this stage, English is not only about understanding words or grammar, it's about using the language confidently, naturally, and effectively in almost any situation. You don't just speak English, you live in English. Whether you are preparing for an exam, getting ready for a professional environment, or simply trying to sound more fluent and natural, this 2-hour lesson will give you what you need. You will get repetition, deep listening practice, and real-world exposure that helps your brain adjust to advanced English naturally. Let's begin with a simple question to set the mood for today's practice. When you think about someone who speaks English at a very high level, what do you imagine? Do you picture someone who speaks very fast? Someone who uses big, impressive vocabulary? Or someone who seems to understand every topic without difficulty? The truth is, advanced English is not just about sounding smart. It's about expressing ideas clearly, understanding hidden or subtle meanings, and communicating naturally without stress. It's about being able to talk comfortably about daily life, emotions, culture, society, work, personal experiences, and even complex or serious topics with confidence and flow. In this video, we will explore many of these areas together. We'll talk about communication skills, everyday situations, personal development, advanced vocabulary, deeper ideas, and practical ways to train your mind to think in English. Each part of this lesson is designed to slowly strengthen your ability to understand and speak English the way native speakers do. As you listen, I want you to imagine yourself inside these situations. Try to answer the questions in your mind. If possible, repeat sentences out loud. Treat this lesson like a real conversation, not just a passive listening exercise. Now, let's start with a warm-up topic that many advanced learners enjoy: how daily habits shape our communication skills. Think about your everyday routine. How often do you expose yourself to English? Do you listen to podcasts while eating breakfast? Do you read a few pages of a book before going to sleep? Do you talk to yourself in English while doing simple activities like cooking, cleaning, or driving? These habits may seem small or unimportant, but they are extremely powerful. They build fluency faster than you might expect. Many language researchers say that consistent exposure is more important than long, difficult study sessions. In fact, experts often explain that using English for short periods, several times a day, is more effective than studying for many hours only once a week. This is because your brain learns language through repetition, context, and meaning. The more often you hear natural expressions, the more familiar they become. Slowly, they turn into something automatic. Now, let's pause and reflect for a moment. When you hear phrases like "on a regular basis," "from time to time," or "as far as I'm concerned," do they feel natural to you, or do you still translate them from your native language? At C1 and C2 levels, your main goal is to reduce translation and increase intuition. You want English ideas to come into your mind naturally, without effort. That is one of the main goals of today's long listening practice, to help your brain start thinking in English. Now, let's move on to our first advanced discussion topic: how modern life affects the way we communicate. This is something people all over the world can relate to, no matter where you live: the United States, India, Europe, Africa, the Middle East, or Southeast Asia. Communication has changed a lot in the last 10 years. Today, many conversations happen through text messages, video calls, or voice notes. People share their thoughts instantly, often without thinking deeply. At the same time, face-to-face conversations are becoming less frequent for many people. This change affects language in interesting ways. Because communication is faster, people often use shorter sentences, simpler expressions, or emojis to show emotions. But when it comes to advanced English, short messages are not enough. At a high level, you need to express opinions clearly, explain your reasoning, agree or disagree politely, and discuss complex ideas using clear structure and accurate vocabulary. Let's practice this idea with a few questions. As you listen, try to answer in your mind or speak out loud if you can. How has technology changed the way you communicate with others? Do you feel communication today is better or worse than it was in the past? Do you think social media helps people stay connected, or does it make conversations more shallow? These questions require more than simple yes or no answers. They encourage you to explain your thoughts, expand your ideas, and support your opinions, just like real advanced conversations in English. That kind of thinking is exactly what you need at the C1 and C2 levels. At advanced levels, it's not enough to give short or basic answers. You need to explain your ideas, compare different sides, and show balance in your thinking. For example, instead of simply saying, "Technology is helpful," an advanced learner might say something like this: "Technology has definitely changed the way I communicate. On one hand, it allows me to stay in touch with people easily and quickly. On the other hand, I sometimes feel that conversations have become less personal." Notice the structure "on one hand" and "on the other hand." These transition phrases help your speech sound organized, logical, and fluent. They show that you can look at a topic from more than one perspective. As we continue through this lesson, you will hear many expressions like this. When you hear them, try to repeat them if you can. Repetition helps your brain remember natural sentence patterns. Now, let's move on to our next important and closely related topic: the importance of active listening. At advanced levels, communication is not only about speaking well. Speaking is only half of the process. The other half is listening carefully, understanding details, and responding in an appropriate and meaningful way. Have you ever noticed that some people listen only because they want to reply? They wait for their turn to speak, but they don't fully understand what the other person is saying. This is very common, but it is not effective communication. Active listening means paying attention not just to the words, but also to the tone, the intention, and the emotion behind the message. When you develop this skill in English, it becomes much easier to understand fast speech, advanced vocabulary, idioms, and subtle meanings. It also helps you respond more naturally and confidently. For example, imagine someone says, "I've been overwhelmed lately." A basic response might be, "Okay," but an advanced learner would respond in a more thoughtful way, such as, "I'm sorry to hear that. Is it because of work?" This response shows understanding, empathy, and fluency. It sounds human, warm, and natural. Throughout this video, you will hear many real-life expressions such as, "I've been meaning to," "I can relate to that," "That caught me off guard," "I wouldn't go that far, but I see your point." These are expressions that fluent speakers use every day. When you learn them through listening and context, they help you sound more confident and natural without memorizing long grammar rules. As we continue, remember this: the goal is not to memorize everything. The real goal is to let English flow through your mind, to let it become familiar, comfortable, and automatic. The more you expose yourself to real, natural English, the faster you will move towards C1 and C2 levels. Now, let's move into another extremely important topic for advanced learners: expressing complex ideas clearly and naturally. At advanced levels, English is not just about understanding difficult words, it's about using the language to communicate ideas that are subtle, layered, and meaningful. Think about how you speak in your native language. When you talk about deep topics, such as society, relationships, personal growth, or global issues, you probably use nuanced expressions without even thinking about it. You might say things like, "It's not that simple. It depends on the context. There's more to it than that." Advanced English speakers use similar expressions. For example, "It's a bit more complicated than it seems. There are several factors to consider. I understand where you're coming from, but I see it differently." That's a valid point, although I'd argue these expressions show maturity, clarity, and depth. They help you take part in meaningful conversations instead of shallow or surface-level discussions. Now, let's explore a real-world topic that many people around the world can relate to: how expectations shape our daily lives. Expectations from family, society, work, or even from ourselves have a strong influence on how we think, feel, and behave. This topic often appears in advanced English discussions because it connects language with emotions, psychology, and real-life experience. Let's take a moment to reflect. You can answer these questions in your mind or out loud. What expectations do you feel from the people around you? Do these expectations help you grow, or do they add pressure? How do expectations affect your confidence and your decisions? These questions require more than simple vocabulary. They require explanation, examples, and reflection. This is something C1 and C2 learners need to practice regularly. For example, an advanced speaker might say, "I believe expectations can be both motivating and stressful. On one hand, they push us to reach our potential. On the other hand, they create pressure that affects our mental well-being." Notice how this structure shows balance and nuance. This is how native speakers often express complex opinions. These small details, comparison, contrast, and careful wording, help you move from intermediate English to advanced English. Now, let's talk about natural conversation flow, which is something many advanced learners struggle with. A common problem is feeling that your English sounds too formal, too stiff, or too academic. At high levels, your goal is to sound natural, not robotic. One effective way to do this is by using small, natural phrases that connect ideas smoothly and make your speech feel relaxed and human. Native speakers use many conversational tools without even thinking about them. These are small expressions that help ideas flow naturally. For example, "Actually, now that you mention it, that reminds me of something. To be honest, I've never thought about it that way. If I had to guess, I'd say, what surprised me was..." These phrases may seem simple, but they make your speech smoother, more flexible, and more dynamic. They help you sound like you are thinking in English, not translating word for word from your native language. Throughout this lesson, you will hear many expressions like these again and again. This repetition is intentional. The goal is for your brain to become familiar with them so that one day they come out naturally without effort. Now, let's shift to another topic that advanced learners often discuss: personal growth and long-term goals. No matter where someone comes from, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, or the Middle East, most people want to improve their lives in some way. This could be related to their career, relationships, health, or personal development. Here are a few questions that encourage deeper thinking in English. Try to answer them in your mind or out loud. What long-term goals are most important to you right now? Do you believe people can truly change, or do you think personality stays mostly the same? What is one area of your life you want to improve this year? Advanced English is not only about using difficult vocabulary, it's about expressing emotions, motivation, and self-reflection. Let's look at a real example. I've been trying to become more disciplined with my time. It's not easy, but I'm slowly improving. I've realized that small, consistent habits make a big difference in the long run. This kind of response sounds real, honest, and human. It expresses effort, emotion, and reflection. This is exactly the type of fluency you should aim for. Now let's move on to another essential advanced skill: handling disagreements politely. In some cultures, people avoid disagreements. In others, debates are very common. In English, especially at advanced levels, it's important to disagree clearly but politely without sounding rude or aggressive. Here are some natural and respectful ways to express disagreement. I see your point, but I'm not completely convinced. That's an interesting perspective, though I'd interpret it differently. I respect your opinion, but I have a slightly different take. I understand what you mean, although I don't fully agree. These expressions show confidence, respect, and clarity, key characteristics of C1 and C2 communication. Now, let's explore another highly relatable topic: how daily routines shape our confidence. Many learners underestimate how much their daily routine affects their ability to speak English. The truth is, confidence does not come from perfection. It comes from consistency. The more you expose yourself to English every day, the more natural and effortless your speech becomes. Think about your own routine. Do you practice English intentionally or only when you have extra time? Do you listen to English while exercising, cooking, or commuting? The more English you absorb passively, the easier active speaking becomes. Here is a very useful advanced sentence pattern. The more I practice, the more confident I feel. The more I listen, the more natural everything sounds. The more I challenge myself, the more progress I notice. This the more structure is extremely common in natural English, and mastering it will help you sound more fluent almost instantly. Now let's move into a meaningful topic that touches almost everyone: finding balance in life. Balancing work, family, school, relationships, and personal goals is not easy. Many people feel overwhelmed, especially in today's fast-paced world. Advanced conversations often involve talking about balance, priorities, and decision-making. Ask yourself this question: do you feel your life is balanced, or do you feel pulled in many different directions? A natural, advanced answer might sound like this: lately, I've been trying to find a better balance in my life. I realized I was focusing too much on work and not enough on my well-being. Now I'm learning to slow down and take things one step at a time. Expressions like take things one step at a time, slow down, and find balance are extremely common in everyday English. As we continue, we will explore even deeper topics, more advanced sentence structures, and more natural expressions to help you reach C1 and C2 levels. Now, let's move forward with another topic that almost every learner can relate to: how our environment influences the way we speak, think, and react. Whether you live in a quiet town, a busy city, or somewhere in between, your surroundings shape your communication style in interesting ways. For example, in fast-paced environments, people often speak more quickly and directly. In cultures that value politeness or indirect communication, people may express opinions more carefully and gently. Becoming aware of these patterns helps you understand how you use English and how you can adjust your speaking style depending on the situation. Let's continue with a few reflective questions. Do you think your environment affects the way you communicate in English? Do you feel more confident speaking English at home, at school, at work, or with friends? How does the atmosphere around you influence your level of fluency? These questions push you to think more deeply, and this kind of thinking is essential at the C1 and C2 levels. Advanced English is not only about grammar or vocabulary, it's also about self-awareness and communication strategy, understanding how, when, and why you use certain language. Now, let's talk about something that many advanced learners underestimate: the power of storytelling at high levels. One of the strongest signs of real fluency is the ability to tell stories smoothly and naturally. These can be stories about your day, your past experiences, challenges you have faced, or even your dreams for the future. When you tell a story well in English, you show control over verb tenses, transitions, emotions, and descriptive language. Here are some natural storytelling expressions that fluent speakers use. Let me tell you about something interesting that happened recently. I'll never forget the moment when, looking back, I realized that at first I didn't understand what was happening, but eventually I figured things out. These phrases help create a natural flow and guide the listener through your thoughts step by step. Let's practice this idea with a simple reflection. Think about a moment from your life. It could be something surprising, funny, stressful, or deeply meaningful. Now try to describe it in English in your mind. Use transitions like at first, after a while, in the end, what surprised me was, or the strange thing is. This type of practice builds confidence and helps you develop real-life storytelling skills, which are a powerful part of advanced fluency. Now, let's move into another essential skill for C1 and C2 learners: using precise vocabulary. At advanced levels, you don't need complicated words or rare words. What you need are accurate and appropriate words. For example, instead of very important, advanced speakers might say crucial, essential, or significant. Instead of very big, they might say massive, enormous, or substantial. Instead of very small, they might say tiny, minimal, or limited. Instead of I don't like it, they might say it doesn't appeal to me, I'm not a big fan of it, or it's not really my thing. These choices make your speech richer, clearer, and more expressive without sounding unnatural. Now let's explore an advanced topic that appears very often in real conversations: dealing with uncertainty. In real life, we constantly make decisions without knowing exactly what will happen. Being able to express uncertainty in English is a strong sign of advanced fluency. Here are some natural expressions used by fluent speakers. These expressions soften your speech and make you sound thoughtful and realistic rather than overly confident or rigid. Let's reflect on this idea more deeply. Life is full of uncertainty about the future, about work, about relationships, and about opportunities. Being able to talk about uncertainty in English shows emotional intelligence and nuance. Try answering these questions in your mind. What is something you've been unsure about recently? How do you usually deal with uncertainty in your life? Do you trust your instincts, or do you rely more on facts and logic? At advanced levels, these reflections help you speak in a more natural, mature, and thoughtful way. Now, let's shift to another important aspect of advanced English: showing empathy through language. Empathy is a human skill that no machine or translation app can truly replace. When you express empathy, you show understanding, care, and emotional awareness, qualities that are highly valued in C1 and C2 communication. Here are some natural expressions of empathy. I can imagine how that must feel. That sounds really challenging. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I can relate to what you're saying. I've experienced something similar, so I understand. Using these phrases makes your English warmer, more human, and more connected. Now, let's explore a global topic that people everywhere can relate to: the fast pace of modern life. Many people today feel busier than ever. Whether you are a student, an employee, a parent, or someone building your own business, life can sometimes feel overwhelming. This topic gives you a great opportunity to practice advanced vocabulary and natural expressions. For example, you might say, "I've been juggling multiple responsibilities lately. I feel like I'm constantly racing against time. I've been trying to slow down and reset my priorities. Life has been hectic, but I'm managing." These expressions are commonly used in workplaces, universities, and everyday conversations. Now, let's go even deeper. One of the most important parts of advanced English is not just speaking well, but communicating clearly, thoughtfully, and authentically in real-life situations. Advanced communication is not only about speaking well, it is also about being able to reflect on your experiences. Reflection helps you organize your thoughts and express them clearly, which is extremely important at higher levels of English. Take a moment to reflect by answering these questions silently or out loud. What is one lesson you have learned recently? Is there something you wish you had handled differently? How have you grown or changed over the past year? These reflective questions train your brain to form deeper connections in English. They help you move beyond simple answers and develop more thoughtful, mature language. Now, let's explore a highly practical skill: making your speech more structured. Native speakers often organize their ideas naturally using simple but powerful patterns. You may hear expressions like, "first of all," "secondly," "on top of that," "in contrast," "to sum up." Using these structures helps your English sound clear, organized, and polished, especially in academic, professional, or formal conversations. They guide the listener and make your message easier to follow. Before we move to the next section, let's remember something very important. Advanced English is not about perfection. It is about clarity, confidence, and connection. It is about expressing who you are, what you think, and how you see the world. As we continue this journey toward advanced English fluency, let's move into a topic that many advanced learners find fascinating: the psychology of communication. At a high level, language is not just about sharing information, it's about emotion, identity, culture, and connection. Every time you speak English, you are not only forming sentences, you are building relationships, expressing personality, and shaping how others see you. For example, compare these two responses. "Yes, I guess. I think that would work really well." The first sounds unsure and passive. The second sounds confident, engaged, and involved. At advanced levels, tone matters just as much as vocabulary. You want to sound like someone who actively participates in a conversation, not someone who only reacts. To improve your communication psychology, try using assertive yet polite phrases like, "I'd prefer if we could," or "one thing I'd like to add is," or "I completely agree with that point," or "I'm not entirely sure about that, but here's how I see it." These expressions make your English sound more mature, confident, and professional. Now, let's move to another important area: expressing complex emotions. At advanced levels, basic words like happy, sad, angry, or tired are not always enough. You want to express more subtle and precise emotions. For example, "I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed," or I feel conflicted about that. Or, I'm cautiously optimistic. Or, I'm a little out of my depth. Or, I'm genuinely impressed. These expressions help you communicate emotions more accurately and naturally, especially in personal or meaningful conversations. Now let's explore a topic that affects almost everyone: time management and productivity in modern life. With screens, notifications, deadlines, and responsibilities pulling us in many directions, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Talking about time and productivity is very common in advanced English conversations. Here are some natural, advanced expressions related to this topic. I've been trying to prioritize my tasks more effectively. Or, I tend to procrastinate when I feel stressed. Or, I'm learning to set healthier boundaries with my time. Or, I've realized that managing my energy is just as important as managing my schedule. These expressions are commonly used in professional settings, personal conversations, and self-reflection. I've realized that I need to manage my energy, not just my schedule. This is a powerful idea, and it's something you'll often hear in workplace conversations, coaching sessions, and academic discussions. Let's pause for a moment and reflect. How do you currently manage your time and energy? Do you usually feel productive, or do you often feel rushed and exhausted? What is one habit you would like to improve to use your time more effectively? Thinking about meaningful questions like these helps you build deeper, more expressive English. It also helps you connect language with real life. Now, let's explore a topic that people all over the world experience: building and maintaining meaningful relationships. Whether we are talking about friendships, family connections, or professional relationships, communication is the foundation of strong connections. Advanced English allows you to communicate with clarity, respect, and emotional awareness in many different situations. Here are some natural expressions that help strengthen relationship-based communication. I really appreciate the effort you put in. Or, I value your honesty. Or, I understand what you're going through. Or, I'm grateful for your support. Or, let me know how I can help. These phrases express warmth, maturity, and care, important qualities in advanced communication. Let's go a little deeper. Many psychologists believe that strong relationships are built on understanding, patience, and the ability to express emotions clearly. When you communicate well, you reduce misunderstandings, resolve conflicts more quickly, and build trust with the people around you. Take a moment to reflect on these questions. What qualities do you value most in a friend? How do you try to maintain strong connections with the people you care about? What is one thing you wish people understood better about your communication style? Answering questions like these in English helps you explore your inner thoughts while training your fluency at a deeper level. Next, let's discuss one of the most important skills at the C1 and C2 levels: summarizing and paraphrasing. Advanced English speakers do not always repeat information word for word. Instead, they naturally rephrase ideas to sound clearer and more natural. For example, instead of saying, "He said he can't come because he's busy," an advanced speaker might say, "He mentioned that he wouldn't make it due to a busy schedule." Instead of saying, "The book is about how people think," you might say, "The book explores human thought and behavior." Paraphrasing helps you sound flexible, confident, and fluent. It shows that you truly understand what you're saying, not just memorizing sentences. Before we close this section, let's remember a key idea. Advanced English is not about sounding perfect. It is about expressing yourself authentically, thoughtfully, and confidently. As you listen, try to absorb the rhythm, the expressions, and the natural flow of English. This repeated exposure is what slowly moves you closer to C1 and C2 fluency. Now, let's continue this advanced English journey by exploring a topic that matters deeply to people everywhere: making meaningful progress in life and staying motivated even when things feel difficult. At C1 and C2 levels, conversations about motivation, challenges, and personal development are very common. You may hear these topics in job interviews, university discussions, professional meetings, and everyday conversations. Let's start with a simple but powerful truth. Everyone wants to improve, but not everyone knows how to keep going when progress feels slow. This is true for language learning, career growth, fitness goals, and many other areas of life. Learning English works the same way. Some days you feel confident and fluent. Other days you struggle to express even simple ideas, and that is completely normal. Here are two advanced expressions that describe this experience beautifully. Progress isn't always visible, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. Growth often happens beneath the surface long before we notice it. These phrases show emotional awareness, depth, and strong language control, important signs of advanced English. Let's reflect for a moment. Think about something you've been trying to improve recently. It could be your English, your health, your relationships, or your career. Ask yourself, what motivates you to keep going? What discourages you? How do you usually handle setbacks? Practicing these reflections in English helps you express emotions more naturally and strengthens your fluency. Now, let's move into a topic that many advanced learners find especially interesting: self-discipline and consistency. Many people believe that successful language learners have natural talent, but in reality, fluency comes from consistent habits, not perfection. Here are some natural advanced expressions related to consistency. I've been trying to stay consistent, even on days when I don't feel motivated. I'm working on developing better habits, one step at a time. These sentences sound realistic, honest, and human. They reflect effort, patience, and long-term thinking, the same qualities that lead to advanced fluency. I've come to realize that discipline is often more reliable than motivation. Motivation can come and go, but discipline helps you keep moving forward even on difficult days. That's why I'm learning to build routines that support my long-term goals. These kinds of expressions are very useful when talking about personal growth, lifestyle changes, and self-improvement. Now, let's move into something even more practical: handling stress and mental load. In modern life, stress is one of the most common challenges people face, whether the pressure comes from work, school, family responsibilities, or social expectations. Stress affects how we speak, how we think, and how we behave. Here are some natural, advanced expressions used to describe stress in a calm and realistic way. I've been feeling a bit overwhelmed lately. I'm trying to manage my stress more effectively. I've been under a lot of pressure these days. I need to slow down and take a breather. I'm doing my best to stay grounded. These sentences help you express emotional states clearly without sounding dramatic or unnatural. Let's pause for a moment and reflect. What has been the biggest source of stress in your life recently? How do you usually cope with pressure? Do you tend to face problems directly, or do you sometimes avoid them? Thinking through questions like these in English strengthens both your reasoning skills and your emotional expression. Now, let's focus on another essential skill at advanced levels: expressing contrast and comparing ideas. In advanced conversations, you often need to show balance, contrast, or nuance. Native speakers use certain structures naturally to do this. Here are some common examples. Although I agree with that point, I think, while that may be true, it's also important to consider, on the contrary, in comparison. Despite that, I believe, learning to use these expressions helps your English sound deeper, more thoughtful, and more sophisticated. Let's apply this idea to a relatable topic: work-life balance. Many people around the world struggle to balance professional responsibilities with personal life. An advanced response might sound like this: Although I understand the importance of working hard, I also believe that rest is essential. Without a healthy balance, both productivity and well-being suffer. This type of sentence shows clarity, balance, and maturity, key features of advanced English. Now, let's move into another powerful topic, mindset. Mindset influences how we learn, how we communicate, and how we deal with challenges. A strong mindset helps you stay motivated, learn faster, and respond calmly to difficulties. Here are some natural advanced expressions related to mindset. I'm learning to shift my mindset and focus more on solutions than problems. I've been trying to see setbacks as opportunities for growth. I'm working on developing a more positive and resilient attitude. I've realized that mindset has a huge impact on how I experience challenges. These expressions show emotional intelligence and thoughtful communication. Now, let's explore a topic that truly stretches your advanced English skills, discussing global issues in a balanced and thoughtful way. At C1 and C2 levels, learners are often expected to talk about topics such as the economy, climate change, culture, education, or social trends without sounding extreme, emotional, or overly simple. Here are some balanced, advanced statements. It's clear that globalization has brought both benefits and challenges. From a broader perspective, this issue is more complex than it appears. One could argue that technology has improved our lives, but it has also created new concerns. There's no simple solution, but open dialogue is a good starting point. These expressions help you sound mature, analytical, and fluent in serious discussions. Let's reflect on a few deeper questions. Answer them silently or out loud in English. How has technology changed daily life in your country? Do you think people today are happier or more stressed than past generations? Do you feel your society is moving in a positive direction, or are you concerned about the future? Practicing answers to questions like these helps you develop thoughtful, well-balanced opinions in English. Before we wrap up this section, let's focus on one more advanced skill: expressing future hopes and ambitions. At C1 and C2 levels, you want to talk about your dreams and plans in a natural and confident way. Here are some common advanced expressions. In the future, I hope to broaden my opportunities. I'd like to challenge myself more professionally. One of my long-term goals is to improve my communication skills. I'm planning to push myself out of my comfort zone. These expressions help you talk about the future with clarity, confidence, and intention. This creates a strong foundation for the next section, where we will explore deeper emotional topics, real-life dialogues, and advanced communication patterns that closely reflect how English is used naturally in everyday life. As we continue this advanced English practice, let's dive into an area that becomes more important as learners move closer to C1 and C2 levels: identity and self-expression. Advanced English is not just about being grammatically correct, it's about being yourself in another language. It's about expressing your humor, your personality, your opinions, and your worldview in a natural and comfortable way. Let's begin with a question that many advanced learners struggle with. Do you feel like you sound like your real self when you speak English? For many people, the honest answer is not yet. Some learners feel less confident, others feel too formal, and some feel that their English personality is very different from who they are in their native language. This experience is completely normal, and it improves with time and practice. Here are some natural expressions that help you express your identity more authentically. I'm the kind of person who values honesty and connection. I've always been someone who enjoys learning and growing. One thing people often misunderstand about me is, what really matters to me is personal growth and balance. These phrases help you sound more natural, reflective, and introspective in advanced conversations. Now let's explore a topic that connects deeply with identity: culture. Culture shapes how we see the world, how we communicate, and how we interpret other people's words and behavior. When you speak English at an advanced level, you are not only using vocabulary and grammar, you are also understanding cultural nuances. Think about these questions. How does your culture influence the way you communicate? Do you come from a direct or indirect communication style? Do people in your culture express emotions openly or more privately? Reflecting on cultural differences helps you understand why certain English expressions feel comfortable to you while others may feel awkward or unnatural. For example, imagine someone asks you a very personal question. Depending on your culture and comfort level, you might respond, "I'd rather not talk about that." Or, "Sure, I don't mind explaining." Both responses are natural and correct. The difference comes from personal boundaries and cultural background. Now let's move into another important advanced topic, describing complex experiences. At higher levels of English, you don't just describe what happened, you also explain how it felt, why it mattered, and what you learned from it. Here are some advanced storytelling expressions. "It was one of those moments that really stayed with me. I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, it taught me a valuable lesson. It felt like a turning point in my life. That experience shaped the way I see things today." These expressions make your English richer, deeper, and more emotionally expressive. Now let's explore a topic everyone can relate to, dealing with change. Life is constantly changing. New jobs, new environments, new relationships, and new challenges are part of everyone's journey. These moments give you many opportunities to use advanced English naturally. Here are some common expressions related to change. "I'm still adjusting to the new situation. It took me a while to get used to it. I've been trying to adapt as best as I can. It was a big transition, but I handled it step by step." These phrases are extremely common in native-level conversations. Take a moment to reflect in English. What is a recent change in your life? Was it difficult, exciting, or both? How did you adapt to it? Thinking through questions like these in English strengthens your advanced speaking and thinking skills. Now let's explore something many advanced learners want, speaking more smoothly without hesitation. One of the secrets to fluent, natural speech is using conversation fillers and natural pauses. These are not mistakes. In fact, native speakers use them all the time. Here are some natural examples. Let me think for a second. To be honest, well, the thing is, if I'm being completely straightforward. These phrases give your brain time to think while keeping your speech flowing naturally. Now let's move into a topic that shows emotional intelligence and maturity, handling conflict or disagreement respectfully. At advanced levels, it's important to disagree or set boundaries without sounding rude or aggressive. Here are some polite and natural ways to do that. "I see your point, but I have a different perspective." "I understand where you're coming from, although I don't fully agree." "I appreciate your opinion, but I see things a bit differently." "I'm not comfortable with that, to be honest." "I don't think that approach works for me." These expressions help you protect your boundaries while remaining calm, respectful, and confident. Next, let's talk about another very important topic, goal setting and ambition. This is something advanced learners often talk about in job interviews, academic discussions, and personal conversations. Being able to express ambition clearly shows confidence and direction. Here are some natural, advanced expressions. "I'm working toward long-term goals that align with my values." "I'm focused on steady progress rather than quick results." "I want to continue developing both personally and professionally." "I'm motivated to challenge myself and grow beyond my comfort zone." These expressions help you speak about your future with clarity, confidence, and maturity. These expressions show confidence, direction, and self-awareness. "I'm working toward improving my long-term career prospects." One of my main goals this year is to expand my skill set. I'm aiming to challenge myself more intellectually. I want to reach a point where I can express myself effortlessly in English. Sentences like these clearly communicate ambition and purpose, which are very important in advanced communication. Now let's move into something deeper and more reflective. How your past shapes your present. Advanced conversations often involve reflecting on your past, your childhood, past decisions, old habits, or important life experiences. These reflections help you speak with depth and emotional clarity. Here are some natural advanced expressions. Growing up, I didn't fully appreciate certain things. One thing my childhood taught me was resilience. In hindsight, I realized how important that experience was. That experience had a significant influence on who I am today. Reflecting in English helps you develop emotional fluency, not just language accuracy. Take a moment to reflect quietly in English. Is there an event from your past that changed you? What did you learn from it? How does it affect the way you think today? These types of reflections are exactly what help learners reach true C1 and C2 fluency. To close this section, remember one important idea. Advanced English is not about using big or complicated words. It's about depth, clarity, and confidence. It's about expressing who you are, your personality, your emotions, and your experiences in a natural and meaningful way. Now let's move into another essential topic for high-level communication. Understanding subtle meaning and reading between the lines. At C1 and C2 levels, people don't always say exactly what they mean. Instead, they hint, imply, or communicate indirectly. Being able to recognize this is a strong sign of advanced fluency. For example, imagine someone says, "I might need some help with this if you're not too busy." They are not only asking for help, they are also being polite, respecting your time, and trying not to sound demanding. Advanced English speakers pay attention to tone, intention, and emotion, not just words. Here are some common expressions that often carry subtle meaning. "It's fine, don't worry about it." Often means, "It's not really fine, but I don't want to argue." "That's interesting" can mean, "I disagree, but I ding polite." "I'll think about it" often means, "Probably no, but I don't want to say it directly." "You're welcome to join us if you'd like" means you are invited, but there is no pressure. Understanding these hidden meanings helps you communicate smoothly in both personal and professional situations. Reflect on these questions. Do people in your culture speak directly or indirectly? Have you ever misunderstood someone because of subtle language? Do you prefer communication that is very clear or more diplomatic? These are common discussions among advanced English speakers because communication styles vary greatly around the world. Now let's move to a skill that truly separates intermediate speakers from advanced speakers. Expressing complex reactions. Instead of using simple reactions like "that's nice" or "that's bad," advanced speakers react with more nuance and emotional awareness. Here are some natural examples. "That caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that at all." "That actually makes a lot of sense." "I can see why you'd feel that way." "That must have been difficult to deal with." These expressions sound natural, empathetic, and confident, and they are widely used by native speakers. Next, let's talk about another essential skill. Building strong conversational flow. At advanced levels, conversation isn't just about speaking correctly. It's about maintaining rhythm, responding naturally, and keeping the interaction alive. Here are some useful tools. Softening opinions. "I might be wrong, but it seems to me that..." if I'm being honest. Showing interest. "Really? What happened next?" "That sounds fascinating. Tell me more." How did you handle that? Extending the conversation. Speaking of that, that reminds me of, now that you mention it, these expressions help you hold long, meaningful, and natural conversations. Now, let's explore a topic that people all over the world relate to deeply: dealing with emotional fatigue. Modern life is fast, competitive, and full of expectations. Many people carry emotional pressure quietly, without talking about it. To express this naturally in English, you need advanced emotional vocabulary. Here are some useful expressions. I've been mentally drained lately. I'm trying to recharge and take better care of myself. I've been feeling a bit disconnected. I'm overwhelmed, but I'm managing. I'm working on protecting my peace. These sentences help you express emotional states honestly and maturely without sounding dramatic. These expressions help you describe your emotional reality in a mature and natural way. Let's pause for a short reflection. What do you usually do when you feel emotionally tired? Do you talk to someone you trust, or do you prefer to stay quiet? How do you take care of your mental well-being? Thinking through questions like these in English helps you develop emotional fluency, self-awareness, and confidence when talking about personal topics. Now, let's move to something lighter, but just as important: talking about daily routines in an advanced way. Many learners think daily routines are simple topics. However, at C1 and C2 levels, you can describe everyday life with much more detail and depth. For example, instead of saying, "I wake up and go to work," an advanced speaker might say, "I usually start my morning slowly, giving myself a few minutes to get mentally ready for the day. Then I head to work, where I try to organize my priorities before things get too busy." Notice how much richer and more natural that sounds. Here are some advanced ways to talk about daily routines. I've been trying to create healthier habits lately. My mornings are usually a bit chaotic, but I'm working on improving them. I take a few minutes each day to reflect and plan ahead. I try to end my day with something calming and relaxing. These are the kinds of expressions people use in real conversations all around the world. Now, let's move to a topic that advanced speakers often enjoy discussing: personal philosophy. Your personal philosophy includes your beliefs about happiness, success, relationships, discipline, and what it means to live a meaningful life. Here are some natural ways to express personal philosophy in English. I try to remind myself that progress matters more than perfection. I believe that small acts of kindness can change someone's day. I've learned that comparison only makes life more difficult. One principle I try to follow is staying grateful no matter what happens. These expressions show maturity, clarity, and emotional intelligence in your communication. Take a moment to reflect. What beliefs guide your life right now? What do you value most at this stage of your life? Has your personal philosophy changed over the years? Thinking about these topics in English strengthens both your high-level fluency and your emotional vocabulary. Before we close this part, let's introduce one more key skill for advanced learners: expressing doubt, hesitation, and uncertainty naturally. In real life, people often don't have clear answers. Being able to express uncertainty calmly and clearly is a sign of advanced fluency. Here are some common natural expressions. I'm not entirely convinced. I'm still weighing my options. I'm torn between two choices. I haven't made up my mind yet. I'm uncertain, but I'm open to possibilities. These expressions help you communicate honestly even when you don't have a definite answer, something native speakers do all the time. This brings us to the end of Part 7. In the next section, we'll explore deeper discussions, more emotional topics, natural storytelling, and additional advanced expressions that help you sound fully fluent and confident. As we continue this advanced English practice, let's move into a topic that plays a major role in deep and meaningful conversations: understanding yourself and your emotional patterns. At C1 and C2 levels, people often talk not only about what they do, but why they do it. They discuss their fears, motivations, reactions, and personal growth. Many people share this experience. Sometimes we don't fully understand our own reactions until much later. Something happens, we react emotionally, and only afterward do we ask ourselves, why did I act like that? This kind of emotional reflection is very common in advanced English conversations because it requires complex thinking and rich vocabulary. Here are some advanced expressions for emotional self-awareness. I've realized that I tend to overthink things more than I should. I'm learning to recognize my triggers and manage them better. I've noticed that I shut down when I feel overwhelmed. I'm trying to understand where these emotions are coming from. I've been reflecting on my behavior lately, and it's been eye-opening. These phrases help you talk about emotions in a deep, honest, and sophisticated way. Let's pause again for reflection. Do you often analyze your emotions? Are you aware of your personal patterns, or do you usually just go with the flow? Have you learned anything new about yourself recently? Thinking about questions like these in English strengthens your ability to express subtle internal experiences clearly and naturally. Now, let's shift into something incredibly useful for advanced communicators: expressing encouragement and support. In English-speaking cultures, offering encouragement and verbal support is very common, whether in friendships, families, workplaces, or academic environments. This skill helps you sound warm, empathetic, and emotionally intelligent, which are key traits of advanced communication. In friendships, in the workplace, or in daily life, being able to encourage someone naturally is a strong sign of fluency. Encouragement is not just about words, it's about tone, empathy, and emotional understanding. Here are some advanced and supportive expressions you will often hear from fluent speakers. I know things are tough right now, but I'm confident you'll get through this. You've made more progress than you realize. I genuinely believe in your abilities. Don't underestimate how far you've come. You're doing better than you give yourself credit for. These phrases help you create warmth, trust, and emotional connection. They show confidence and kindness at the same time. Now, let's explore a topic that advanced speakers frequently discuss: the impact of culture and environment on personal growth. Our backgrounds influence our values, habits, dreams, and even the pace at which we live our lives. Culture shapes how we think, communicate, and define success. Take a moment to reflect on these questions. Do you come from a fast-paced culture or a slower, more relaxed one? Do people in your country value independence more, or is community more important? How has your cultural background shaped your ambitions and goals? These deeper questions help you reflect on your identity and express your thoughts in English with more confidence and clarity. Now, let's move to another essential topic for advanced communication: decision-making. At C1 and C2 levels, it's important to explain how you make decisions, how you evaluate choices, and how you think about consequences. Here are some natural expressions advanced speakers use. I'm weighing the pros and cons before making a final decision. I'm trying to think things through carefully. I tend to follow my intuition when the situation is unclear. I prefer to gather as much information as possible before deciding. I'm still considering all my options. These sentences help you sound thoughtful, balanced, and mature. Next, let's explore a universal theme: learning from failure. Everyone fails at some point. What truly matters is what we learn, how we respond, and how we move forward. Talking about failure in English requires emotional maturity and nuance to language. Here are some powerful and natural expressions. It was a setback, but it pushed me to grow. That experience taught me a lesson I really needed. At first, I was disappointed, but eventually I found clarity. Looking back, I'm grateful things didn't go as planned. It wasn't easy, but it helped me develop resilience. These expressions reflect real human experiences and show depth in your communication. Let's pause for reflection. What's a failure you learned something valuable from? How did it change your perspective? Did it help you become stronger or more self-aware? Thinking through questions like these in English helps you practice emotional storytelling, an important advanced skill. Now, let's move into another topic that appears often in advanced conversations: navigating uncertainty about the future. People everywhere wonder about what lies ahead: career changes, life paths, relationships, dreams, and opportunities. Advanced speakers talk about uncertainty in calm and balanced ways. Here are some natural expressions. I'm unsure what the future holds, but I'm staying optimistic. I'm trying to stay open to new possibilities. I don't have everything figured out yet, but I'm taking things one day at a time. I'm exploring different paths and seeing where they lead. I'm learning to be flexible with my expectations. These phrases sound confident, realistic, and emotionally grounded. Next, let's talk about an advanced skill that's essential in both professional and personal conversations: giving constructive feedback. Many English learners hesitate to give feedback because they don't want to sound rude. However, with the right expressions, you can be honest while remaining respectful. Here are some polite and natural ways to give feedback.
One thing that could be improved is, have you considered trying? I think it might help if something you did really well was, your effort is clear, and with a few adjustments, this could be even stronger. These expressions are extremely useful in workplaces, group projects, and everyday discussions. Now, let's explore something lighter but equally valuable: sparking interesting conversations. At advanced levels, you want to discuss more than just basic topics like food or weather. Fluent speakers often use thoughtful questions to start meaningful conversations. Here are some examples. What's something you've been curious about lately? Have you read or watched anything thought-provoking recently? What's a belief you had in the past but later changed your mind about? What's something you're really looking forward to? These questions lead to deeper, more enjoyable conversations and help you practice sophisticated English naturally. Before we close this section, let's focus on one more important skill: expressing gratitude with depth and sincerity. At advanced levels, gratitude goes beyond simply saying thank you. It's about expressing appreciation clearly and genuinely. Expressing gratitude with sincerity. At advanced levels, gratitude goes beyond a quick thank you. It's about expressing appreciation in a sincere and thoughtful way. Here are some advanced expressions that native speakers commonly use. I truly appreciate your kindness. Thank you for taking the time to help me. It really means a lot to me. I'm grateful for your support and understanding. I don't take your effort for granted. These expressions make your communication feel warmer, more genuine, and more human. They show emotional awareness and maturity, which are key qualities at C1 and C2 levels. Now, let's shift into a topic that becomes essential as your English reaches an advanced stage: persuasive communication. Persuasion is not about arguing or forcing someone to agree with you. It's about explaining your ideas clearly, logically, and respectfully so others can understand your point of view. In everyday life, persuasive communication happens all the time. You might be convincing someone to try something new, explaining why you think one option is better than another, or sharing your opinion in a discussion.
At advanced levels, you need language that helps you persuade without sounding aggressive or emotional. Here are natural persuasive expressions. One reason I believe this is because, based on what I've observed, the evidence suggests that what makes me think this is, from a practical standpoint, these phrases allow you to sound confident, logical, and open-minded at the same time. Let's look at an example. Imagine you're explaining why learning English every day is more effective than studying only once a week. Instead of saying, it's better to learn every day, an advanced speaker might say, one clear advantage of daily practice is that it helps you retain information longer. This consistency keeps your brain actively engaged, which leads to faster progress over time. This type of explanation shows structured thinking and mature persuasive communication. Handling misunderstandings. No matter how fluent you are, misunderstandings will happen, especially when speaking a second language. What matters most is how you respond when they occur. Here are advanced expressions for handling misunderstandings calmly and respectfully. Sorry, I think there might have been a misunderstanding. Let me clarify what I meant. I may not have expressed that clearly. Let me rephrase. I see what you mean. Let's make sure we're on the same page. Thanks for pointing that out. Here's what I was trying to say. These phrases help you stay composed, polite, and clear, even in difficult conversations. Expressing subtle emotions. Intermediate speakers often rely on basic emotional words like happy, sad, or angry. Advanced speakers use more precise language to express how they truly feel. Here are some examples of subtle emotional expressions. I'm feeling a bit uncertain. I'm quietly excited about this opportunity. I'm slightly irritated, but it's manageable. I feel a mixture of relief and worry. I'm emotionally exhausted, but I'm staying hopeful. Using these expressions helps you communicate emotions more accurately and naturally. At C1 and C2 levels, emotional precision makes your English sound real and deeply human. Take a moment to reflect. What subtle emotions have you felt recently? Do you find it easy or difficult to express these emotions in English? How would you like to improve your emotional vocabulary? Thinking about questions like these helps build deeper fluency. Professional English communication. Many advanced learners use English in professional situations, such as meetings, presentations, interviews, or international teamwork. At this level, the goal is to sound both professional and natural. Here are some advanced workplace expressions. I'd like to highlight an important point. Let's take a closer look at the data. To move forward effectively, we should. Could you clarify what you meant by that? One potential solution we could explore is, these expressions help you sound confident, capable, and respectful in professional environments. Now imagine a common workplace situation. Someone presents an idea, and you want to respond thoughtfully. Instead of saying, I don't like it, an advanced speaker might say, I appreciate the idea, though I have some concerns about how practical it is. Maybe we could explore an alternative approach. This response shows professionalism, emotional intelligence, and advanced fluency. Navigating modern life pressures. Now, let's move into a topic that people around the world can relate to. Modern life comes with many pressures: technology, high expectations, financial responsibilities, and constant comparison can make people feel overwhelmed. These experiences are often discussed in advanced English conversations because they involve emotions, reflection, and personal insight. Advanced speakers might say, lately, I've been feeling the pressure of keeping up with everything. It sometimes feels like there's too much information and not enough time. I'm trying to focus less on comparison and more on my own progress. I'm learning to manage expectations and protect my mental well-being. These expressions help you talk about modern life honestly and thoughtfully. Feeling overwhelmed in modern life. Many people today feel overwhelmed by modern life. Being able to talk about these feelings in English helps you express your thoughts naturally and confidently. Here are some advanced but natural expressions. I've been feeling the pressure to keep up with everything. It's hard not to compare myself to others. Sometimes I feel like modern life moves faster than I can handle. I'm trying to disconnect from digital noise whenever possible. I've been working on finding healthier ways to cope with stress. These sentences appear often in real, meaningful conversations with native speakers. They help you talk honestly about stress without sounding dramatic or negative. Now, let's move into a powerful and meaningful topic: personal transformation and growth. People naturally change over time. New experiences, challenges, relationships, and opportunities shape who we become. At advanced levels, you need language that allows you to talk about personal growth with depth and reflection. Here are some nuanced expressions. I'm not the same person I used to be. I've grown a lot over the past few years. My experiences have shaped me in unexpected ways. I've learned to set better boundaries. I've become more patient and less reactive. Speaking about growth in this way shows emotional intelligence and self-awareness. Take a moment to reflect. How have you changed in the last few years? Are you proud of the person you're becoming? What kind of transformation are you still working on? Thinking about these questions in English is excellent practice for advanced fluency. Expressing complex thoughts clearly. At advanced levels, it's not enough to simply know grammar. You must be able to explain subtle ideas, present reasoning, and express layered opinions clearly. Let's start with language that helps you present balanced viewpoints. On one hand, but on the other hand. While I understand that perspective, I see it slightly differently. I agree to some extent, though I have a few reservations. It's a complicated issue with multiple sides worth considering. There's no simple answer, but here's how I see it. These phrases help you sound thoughtful, calm, and intellectually mature. Talking about life priorities. Another topic that appears frequently in advanced conversations is life priorities. People often discuss what truly matters to them, such as health, family, career, freedom, personal growth, stability, or happiness. Being able to express priorities clearly shows strong reasoning and self-awareness. Here are some natural expressions. I'm trying to prioritize my well-being more these days. I've realized that peace of mind matters more to me than anything else. I'm focusing on long-term happiness instead of short-term gains. I'm learning to value experiences over material things. I'm trying to strike a balance between ambition and rest. These sentences help you explain what truly matters to you in a calm and confident way. Let's pause and reflect. What are your priorities right now? Have they changed over the years? What do you want to prioritize moving forward? Thinking about these questions in English strengthens your advanced fluency and self-expression. Understanding human behavior and psychology. Thinking through these questions in English helps deepen your fluency. Now, let's shift into an advanced conversational theme: human behavior and psychology. Many real-life discussions focus on understanding why people think, feel, and act the way they do. This topic naturally encourages deeper vocabulary, clear reasoning, and structured thinking. Here are some useful and natural expressions. People often act out of fear, even when they don't realize it. Our behavior is deeply influenced by our environment. It's easier to judge others than to truly understand them. People sometimes repeat unhealthy patterns without noticing. Many conflicts come from unmet expectations. These sentences allow you to explore psychological ideas clearly and confidently. Why people struggle to change. Let's go deeper into a universal topic: why change is so difficult. Change is uncomfortable. Even when we want to improve our habits, mindset, or lifestyle, we often return to old behaviors. Here are some advanced but simple ways to express this idea. Change requires consistency, which many people underestimate. It's difficult to grow when you're surrounded by the same environment. People often fear losing what's familiar, even if it isn't good for them. We tend to choose comfort over transformation. Real change starts with awareness, not perfection. These ideas help you discuss personal development with depth and clarity. Explaining complex problems and solutions. Now, let's explore a domain that advanced learners must master: explaining complex problems and offering solutions. This skill is especially useful in work meetings, presentations, and debates. Here are structured ways to present a problem. The main issue we're facing is. One factor contributing to this situation is. What complicates the problem is. The challenge lies in balancing these conflicting needs. And here are clear ways to present solutions. One possible approach would be. A long-term solution might involve. We could consider breaking the problem down into smaller steps. It may help to look at this issue from a different angle. Using these structures helps you sound organized, thoughtful, and intelligent. Philosophy and deeper life questions. Advanced speakers often enjoy discussing philosophy and deeper life questions. These questions push you to think critically, expand your vocabulary, and express abstract ideas. Here are some philosophical prompts you can use in conversation. What does it truly mean to live a meaningful life? Do you think people are shaped more by their choices or their circumstances? Is happiness something we create or something we discover? Why do we fear uncertainty when it's a natural part of life? Do you think humans are becoming more connected or more isolated? These questions lead to rich, intellectually stimulating discussions. Emotional storytelling in English. Now, let's move into an essential C1, C2 skill: emotional storytelling. Being able to describe personal experiences with emotion, detail, and reflection shows true mastery of English. A natural storytelling structure looks like this: describe the situation, explain how you felt, highlight the conflict or challenge, share the lesson or insight you gained. Here's an example. A few years ago, I faced a difficult decision that forced me to choose between stability and personal growth. At first, I felt anxious and uncertain. Over time, I realized that the risk was worth taking. That experience taught me that fear often hides valuable opportunities. This kind of storytelling feels authentic and engaging. Take a moment to reflect. What is an experience that changed you? What lesson did you learn from it? How would you describe it using this structure? Thinking through this in English can dramatically boost your fluency. Building meaningful relationships. Now, let's explore a topic relevant to everyone: building meaningful relationships. Healthy relationships depend on communication, empathy, trust, and vulnerability. These are topics that naturally require sophisticated language. Here are some advanced expressions. I'm learning to communicate more openly with the people around me. I value relationships where both sides feel respected and understood. I'm trying to surround myself with people who encourage growth. I've realized that healthy boundaries actually strengthen relationships. I appreciate people who are genuine and emotionally intelligent. These expressions help deepen your conversations and emotional connection with others. Developing emotional resilience. Finally, let's turn to another important advanced topic, emotional resilience. Life is unpredictable, and advanced speakers often reflect on how they cope with stress, challenges, and setbacks. Here are some natural expressions. I'm learning to accept things I cannot control. I'm working on staying calm during difficult situations. I try to focus on what I can influence rather than what I can't. I remind myself that setbacks are part of growth. I'm becoming more resilient with each experience. Being able to talk about resilience helps you express strength, maturity, and self-awareness in English. During difficult moments, I'm learning to pause and respond calmly instead of reacting emotionally. I try to focus on solutions rather than getting stuck on problems. I've also learned to be patient with my own progress and remind myself that growth takes time. These sentences help you express emotional maturity and self-control in a natural way. Curiosity and exploration. Next, let's explore the language of curiosity and exploration, another clear sign of advanced fluency. Curiosity keeps conversations alive. It shows interest, enthusiasm, and an open mind. Curious people ask questions, explore ideas, and enjoy learning more about the world. Here are some natural expressions. I've always been fascinated by. I wonder what would happen if. I've been exploring the idea of. It makes me curious how. I'd love to understand more about. Using these phrases helps you sound engaged, thoughtful, and intelligent in conversation. Expressing doubt while still staying confident. Before we wrap up this section, let's focus on an important advanced communication skill, expressing doubt without losing confidence. Native speakers often show uncertainty while still sounding calm and thoughtful. Here are natural expressions. I'm not entirely sure, but I think. I could be wrong, but my impression is. It's hard to say for certain, though. I don't have all the answers, but here's my perspective. I'm still figuring this out, but here's what I've noticed. These phrases make your English sound realistic, balanced, and mature. This brings us to the end of Part 10. In the next section, we'll explore advanced conversational speed, smooth transitions, deeper emotional vocabulary, and even more C1, C2 patterns to elevate your speaking. Speaking with natural transitions. As we move forward, let's focus on a skill that separates intermediate speakers from truly advanced ones, using natural transitions. Transitions help your speech flow smoothly. They connect ideas, guide the listener, and make your English sound polished and effortless. Here are some natural transition phrases. Speaking of that, this reminds me of something important. Now that we've talked about this, let's take it a step further. On a related note, to put it simply, let's look at it from another angle. Using transitions like these makes your speech clearer, more organized, and more confident, especially in long discussions, presentations, or storytelling. Expressing deep personal insights. Now, let's explore another advanced skill, expressing deep personal insights. At C1 and C2 levels, you need to share thoughts that are reflective, subtle, and emotionally rich. Here are phrases advanced speakers often use. I've realized something about myself recently. The older I get, the more I understand that. I've been rethinking the way I approach. One thing life has taught me is, I'm beginning to see things differently now. These expressions help you sound introspective and thoughtful. Abstract thinking in English. Many learners find abstract thinking challenging. Native speakers often talk about ideas like identity, motivation, habits, culture, fears, and meaning, not just concrete things. Here are some natural abstract thinking expressions. People often underestimate the impact of small habits. Identity is shaped by both our choices and our environment. We create meaning through the stories we tell ourselves. Growth usually happens outside our comfort zone. Most people don't realize how much mindset affects behavior. Practicing these ideas helps you move beyond surface-level English. Expressing emotional boundaries. Now, let's talk about something very practical: setting emotional boundaries. Healthy communication often requires saying no or expressing discomfort politely. Advanced speakers can do this without sounding rude. Here are natural boundary-setting expressions. I'm not comfortable with that, but thank you for understanding. I'd prefer not to discuss that right now. I appreciate the offer, but I'll have to decline. That doesn't work for me, but I hope we can find another solution. I need some time to myself at the moment. These phrases help you protect your emotional space while staying respectful. Talking about long-term goals. Finally, let's shift to another essential advanced skill: talking about long-term goals with clarity. At higher levels, you need to express dreams, ambitions, and future plans in a structured and confident way. Here are some natural expressions. I'm working toward building a more fulfilling life. One of my long-term goals is to... I hope to create opportunities that align with my values. I'm developing skills that will support my future ambitions. I'm trying to build consistency toward the life I envision. These expressions help you talk about your future clearly and confidently. Take a moment to reflect. What long-term goals do you have right now? Are they personal, professional, or emotional? Thinking about these questions in English is powerful practice for true advanced fluency. What steps are you taking to move closer to your goals? Thinking about questions like this in English helps deepen both your fluency and your clarity of thought. Now, let's explore one of the most important aspects of advanced communication: talking about relationships with nuance. Relationships, whether friendships, family connections, romantic relationships, or workplace dynamics, require emotional intelligence and careful language. At advanced levels, it's not just about describing relationships, but about expressing how they feel and what they mean to you. Here are some natural advanced expressions. I'm learning to appreciate people who respect my boundaries. I value relationships where honesty and kindness go hand in hand. I'm trying to communicate more openly with the people I care about. I've realized that healthy relationships require effort from both sides. It's important for me to feel seen and understood. These sentences help you express emotional depth clearly and naturally. Motivation and discipline. Now, let's shift to expressing motivation and discipline, two topics people talk about all over the world. At advanced levels, you don't just say, "I'm motivated," you explain how you stay consistent even when motivation disappears. Here are some natural expressions. I'm trying to build habits that support my progress. I'm learning to stay disciplined even when motivation fades. I'm focusing on long-term consistency rather than short bursts of effort. I'm working on creating systems that keep me accountable. I'm trying to replace excuses with action. Expressions like these sound strong, realistic, and mature. Dealing with uncertainty in life. Next, let's talk about uncertainty. Life is full of moments where we don't have clear answers. Being able to talk about uncertainty calmly is a key advanced skill. Here are balanced, natural expressions. I don't have everything figured out yet, but I'm doing my best. I'm learning to embrace uncertainty rather than fear it. The future is unpredictable, but I'm staying hopeful. I'm trying to trust the process even when the path isn't clear. I'm open to wherever life leads me. These sentences allow you to express complexity without sounding anxious or confused. Figurative and expressive language. Now, let's build your ability to use figurative language, which is essential for sounding natural and fluent. Native speakers use metaphors all the time. Here are some common examples. I feel like I'm standing at a crossroads. I'm trying to find the light at the end of the tunnel.
It felt like a breath of fresh air. I'm carrying emotional baggage I need to let go of. That moment was a turning point in my life. Using expressions like these adds color, emotion, and depth to your English. Next, let's explore advanced conversational empathy, responding in a way that shows understanding and emotional support. Here are some natural empathetic responses. I can see why you'd feel that way. That sounds really challenging. Thank you for sharing that. I understand why that would bother you. You handled that situation better than you realize. I'm here for you if you need anything. These responses help you build deeper, more meaningful connections in English. Now, let's talk about something very human, expressing contradictions within yourself. People often feel two opposite emotions at the same time. Being able to express this makes your English sound natural and emotionally intelligent. Here are some examples. I'm excited, but also nervous. I'm grateful, yet I still feel overwhelmed. I'm confident in my skills, but I sometimes doubt myself. I want change, but I'm afraid of what it might bring. I feel both hopeful and uncertain. These expressions sound honest, realistic, and mature. Before we end this section, let's touch on describing personal growth through challenges. Here are some powerful expressions. That experience forced me to grow in ways I didn't expect. It taught me responsibility and discipline. I learned how strong I really am. It helped me understand myself on a deeper level. That challenge changed me in a meaningful way. Talking about growth like this shows emotional maturity and clear C2 level fluency. As we continue this advanced English practice, let's move into a skill that C1 and C2 speakers must master: advanced storytelling. Clear storytelling is important, but emotional storytelling is what truly captivates listeners. It turns simple language into meaningful communication. Here's a natural structure fluent speakers often use. Set the scene, when and where the event happened. Describe the emotion. How did you feel before, during, and after? Explain the conflict. What challenge or problem appeared? Show the turning point. What moment changed everything? Share the insight. What did you learn from the experience? This structure helps your stories feel clear, emotional, and memorable. Here's an example of how an advanced speaker might tell a personal story. A few months ago, I went through a situation that pushed me far outside my comfort zone. At the beginning, I felt uncertain and overwhelmed because I had no idea how things would turn out. I kept questioning myself and worrying about the possible outcomes. But then something shifted inside me. I made one small decision, nothing dramatic but intentional, and that choice slowly changed everything. Looking back now, I feel grateful. That experience helped me realize how resilient I actually am, even during difficult moments. This style of storytelling is emotional, structured, and natural. It keeps listeners engaged because it shows feelings, growth, and reflection, not just events. Now, let's explore one of the most sophisticated communication skills: expressing nuanced opinions. At C1 and C2 levels, opinions are rarely simple or absolute. Advanced speakers show balance, awareness, and personal perspective. Here are some useful phrases. I can see both sides of the issue, but I lean toward. While I acknowledge the benefits, I'm cautious about. It's a complex topic, and my thoughts are still evolving. I agree in principle, though the execution matters a lot. My perspective might be influenced by my own experiences. These expressions sound thoughtful, mature, and realistic.
Let's take a moment to explore a topic many advanced speakers often discuss: finding balance in life. People try to balance work and rest, ambition and peace, independence and connection. Here are some natural expressions. I'm trying to find a healthier balance between productivity and well-being. I've realized that constant busyness doesn't always lead to fulfillment. I'm learning to slow down without feeling guilty. I'm beginning to prioritize quality over quantity. I'm focusing on creating a lifestyle that supports my mental health. These sentences are very common in real conversations around the world. Now, let's dive into one of the most important advanced skills: expressing disagreement respectfully. Disagreement is normal, but how you express it shows emotional intelligence and fluency. Here are polite and natural phrases. I see your point, though I view it differently. I understand what you mean, but I'm not entirely convinced. That's an interesting perspective, but from my experience.
I respect your opinion, though I'd like to offer another angle. I'm not sure I completely agree, but I appreciate the discussion. Notice how none of these sound rude or aggressive. Now let's shift into something very powerful: deep emotional vocabulary. Intermediate speakers often use basic words like happy, sad, or angry. Advanced speakers choose more precise emotions. Instead of happy, say content, fulfilled, uplifted, in high spirits, deeply pleased. Instead of sad, say downhearted, disappointed, discouraged, emotionally drained, heavy-hearted. Instead of angry, say frustrated, irritated, upset, agitated, resentful. Instead of nervous, say uneasy, on edge, restless, anxious, unsettled. These words make your English more expressive and accurate. Take a moment to reflect. Think about something that happened recently. What emotion did you feel exactly? Was it frustration, relief, excitement, confusion, or something else? Try to name it more precisely. Now let's move on to another advanced topic: reflecting on past mistakes without judgment. This is an important sign of emotional maturity. Here are some natural expressions. I didn't handle that situation perfectly, but I learned from it. I can see now that I reacted emotionally instead of thoughtfully. At the time, I didn't understand what I understand today. It was a mistake, but it helped me grow. I'm kinder to myself about it now. These expressions show honesty, clarity, and self-compassion. Next, let's explore expressing ambition and drive. People everywhere want to grow, improve, and move forward. Advanced speakers talk about ambition clearly and confidently. Here are some useful phrases. I'm pushing myself to reach a higher level. I want to challenge myself and step into bigger opportunities. I'm striving to develop skills that match my aspirations. I'm working on becoming a better version of myself. I'm doing everything I can to create a future I'm proud of. These sentences sound confident and motivating. Now let's move into a deeper and very important topic: understanding personal limitations. Recognizing your limits is not weakness, it's self-awareness. Here are some natural expressions. I'm learning to accept that I can't do everything at once. I've realized I need to pace myself to avoid burnout. I'm becoming more honest about what I can realistically handle. I'm learning when to push myself and when to rest. I'm setting boundaries to protect my energy. These expressions show maturity and emotional intelligence. I'm becoming more aware of my own limits, and I'm starting to respect them instead of ignoring them. I'm trying not to overextend myself or take on more than I can realistically handle. I've recognized that rest is not a weakness. It's something I need in order to function well, think clearly, and stay emotionally balanced. I'm also learning to say no when it's necessary, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. These habits help me feel more grounded, self-aware, and in control of my energy. Now let's shift into another important advanced concept, adjusting expectations. Many people expect too much of themselves or from others, and this often leads to frustration, disappointment, or burnout. I'm trying to set more realistic expectations for myself and accept that I don't have to be perfect all the time. I've learned to let go of perfection and focus more on progress. I'm adjusting my expectations to better fit reality instead of ideal situations. I used to expect too much from people, but now I'm learning to be more understanding and compassionate. I'm giving myself space to grow gradually without unnecessary pressure. These thoughts show emotional maturity and depth. Now let's explore a topic that affects almost everyone: overthinking. Many people struggle with thinking too much, worrying too much, or analyzing every detail. I tend to get lost in my thoughts sometimes, especially when I feel uncertain. I'm learning not to overanalyze every situation or assume the worst. My mind often jumps to worst-case scenarios, but I'm becoming more aware of this habit. I'm trying to trust myself more instead of questioning every decision. I've been practicing letting go of unnecessary worries and focusing on what I can actually control. These expressions are very common in real conversations with native speakers. Before we end this section, let's focus on hope and looking toward the future, which is an important part of advanced communication. I'm optimistic about what lies ahead, even if I don't have everything figured out yet. I'm hopeful that things will work out in their own time. I'm looking forward to new opportunities and experiences. I believe the future holds something meaningful for me, even if I can't see it clearly right now. I'm excited to see how things unfold. These expressions help you end conversations on a positive and uplifting note. Sometimes fluent speakers are unsure but still confident. Here are natural ways to express that balance. I'm not entirely certain, but here's what I think. I may need to double check this, but my understanding is I'm still figuring it out, but from my perspective, I'll try to explain it as clearly as I can. This is just my initial thought, but these phrases help you keep speaking smoothly without hesitation or panic. Now let's move into one of the most meaningful topics advanced speakers often discuss: identity and purpose. People around the world think deeply about who they are, what they want, and how they want to live. I'm still discovering who I am and who I want to become. My sense of purpose has changed over the years as I've grown and gained experience. I'm trying to understand what truly matters to me beyond external expectations. I'm learning to define success on my own terms instead of following someone else's path. I'm figuring out what kind of life I want to create. These sentences show emotional clarity and personal insight. Take a moment to reflect in English. What parts of your identity are you still exploring? What values guide your decisions? What gives you a sense of purpose or direction? Thinking about these questions helps strengthen your expressing skills. Now let's discuss a topic that appears often among fluent speakers: cultural awareness. Understanding different cultures helps you communicate more naturally with people from around the world. Culture influences communication style, humor, politeness, body language, and expectations. I've noticed cultural differences in how people express emotions. Where I come from, people tend to communicate more indirectly. In some cultures, silence is a sign of respect rather than discomfort. Cultural norms shape how we interpret situations and behavior. I've become more aware of how my background influences my perspective. These expressions help you navigate multicultural conversations with confidence and ease. Now let's shift into another advanced topic: self-expression and authenticity. Speaking authentically means expressing your real thoughts, feelings, and beliefs even when they are complex.
I'm trying to express myself more honestly instead of saying what I think others want to hear. I'm learning to speak up instead of staying silent. I want my actions to reflect my values, not just my words. I'm becoming more comfortable with being myself in different situations. I no longer feel the need to hide certain parts of who I am. These are powerful statements that show confidence, emotional maturity, and advanced fluency. Advanced speakers frequently use the skill of giving thoughtful advice. Good advice in English should sound kind, realistic, and respectful. It should never feel forceful or controlling. When you give advice this way, people are more likely to listen and feel supported. For example, you might say, "If I were in your position, I'd consider this option." You could also say, "One approach that might help is," or "You might find it useful to try." Another gentle way to share advice is, "Something that worked for me was," and when you want to respect someone's independence, you can say, "Only you can decide, but here's my perspective." These expressions allow you to guide someone while still respecting their freedom to choose. Now let's explore another topic many learners enjoy talking about: personal development. Growth and self-improvement matter to people all over the world, and discussing them naturally requires thoughtful vocabulary. You might say, "I'm working on becoming more disciplined in my daily life," or "I'm learning to take responsibility for my actions instead of making excuses." You could express emotional growth by saying, "I'm focusing on improving my emotional habits." Building confidence often sounds like, "I'm trying to build confidence step by step." And a strong statement of commitment is, "I'm dedicated to becoming the best version of myself." These phrases appear often in advanced conversations because they sound honest, reflective, and motivated. Next, let's move into another essential area: managing conflict and difficult conversations. Conflict is a natural part of life, and handling it calmly shows emotional maturity. Advanced speakers aim to communicate clearly without escalating tension. You might say, "I'd like us to talk about this calmly and respectfully." Another helpful phrase is, "I understand your frustration, and here's how I feel." When seeking cooperation, you can say, "I want to find a solution that works for both of us." Instead of arguing, you might suggest, "Let's try to understand each other rather than blame." And showing openness sounds like, "I'm open to hearing your perspective." These expressions help you handle sensitive conversations with empathy and clarity. Now let's dive into a deeper emotional skill: forgiving yourself and others. Forgiveness is complex and often difficult, but it's a topic many advanced speakers talk about when sharing personal experiences. You might say, "I'm learning to let go of old grudges," or "I'm trying to forgive myself for past mistakes instead of replaying them in my mind." Another powerful expression is, "I no longer want to carry emotional weight that doesn't serve me." You could also say, "I'm choosing peace over resentment." And with reflection, "I've realized that forgiveness is more for me than for anyone else." These expressions show emotional wisdom, self-awareness, and fluency. Next, let's move into one of the most powerful communication skills: expressing gratitude deeply and sincerely. Gratitude strengthens relationships, improves emotional health, and makes conversations warmer and more meaningful. You might say, "I genuinely appreciate your kindness," or "Thank you for being patient with me." You could express impact by saying, "Your support truly made a difference." Another sincere phrase is, "I don't take what you did for granted." And a deeper expression sounds like, I'm grateful for the trust you've shown me. These phrases help you sound heartfelt and authentic. Now let's shift into a skill advanced speakers often demonstrate, reflecting on life transitions. People experience transitions constantly, moving to a new place, starting a new job, ending a relationship, changing direction, or reinventing themselves. You might say, I'm going through a transition and I'm still adjusting. Or, this change has made me rethink my priorities. During uncertainty, you could say, I'm learning to trust myself during this period. And with acceptance, I didn't expect this transition, but I'm doing my best to adapt. You might also reflect by saying, this stage of my life is teaching me resilience. These sentences express calm, insight, and emotional intelligence. Now let's explore another advanced topic, understanding human nature. Advanced speakers often discuss why people behave the way they do, what motivates them, and how emotions influence decisions. You might say, people often act based on fear rather than logic. Or, most people want to be understood more than they want to be right. Another thoughtful observation is we sometimes project our insecurities onto others. You could also say, people repeat patterns until they become aware of them. And more broadly, human behavior is shaped by both experience and emotion. These statements show psychological awareness and depth. Before we end this section, let's talk about inspiration and motivation. You might say, I'm inspired by people who stay true to themselves, or I admire those who keep going despite challenges. You could express purpose by saying, I'm motivated by the idea of creating a meaningful life. Another natural expression is, I get energy from learning, growing, and contributing. And finally, I feel inspired when I see others pursuing their dreams. These expressions help you communicate passion and purpose clearly. As we move into the next section of your advanced English practice, the focus will be on expressing complex reasoning. At the C1, C2 level, it's important not only to state what you think, but also to explain why you think that and how you reach that conclusion. To speak clearly at an advanced level, it's important not only to share your opinion, but also to explain why you think that way and what influences your perspective. This shows logical thinking and emotional awareness. You can use reasoning structures like these. The main reason I believe this is because, or this conclusion comes from observing that, or my perspective is shaped by several factors, including, or one piece of evidence that supports this is, or based on what I've experienced, it seems that. Using these structures helps you sound logical, persuasive, and thoughtful, skills that are expected at advanced levels of English. Now let's move into a deeper and more reflective topic, how people change over time. Human beings grow emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually as they move through different life experiences. Being able to express this kind of change naturally is an important part of advanced communication. You might say, I've changed in ways I never expected, or I'm not the person I used to be, and I'm grateful for that. You could reflect by saying, my experiences have forced me to grow and mature. Another thoughtful expression is, I've learned that growth often comes from discomfort. And with patience, I've realized that real change doesn't happen overnight. These expressions help you communicate personal evolution with clarity and depth. Let's pause for a moment and reflect. How have you changed over the last few years? Which experiences shaped you the most? What lessons stayed with you? Thinking about these questions in English strengthens your reflective and expressive skills. Now, let's explore another high-level skill, expressing philosophical ideas.
Philosophical thinking allows you to talk about life, purpose, meaning, morality, and the human experience using deeper language. For example, you might say, life often teaches us lessons we didn't know we needed. Or, the older I get, the more I understand the value of simplicity. Another idea could be happiness isn't something we chase, it's something we cultivate. You might also say people often search for certainty in a world full of uncertainty, or reflect by saying meaning isn't found, it's created through our choices. Statements like these make your English sound wise, thoughtful, and mature. Now let's explore a very practical skill, expressing limitations in your knowledge. Even experts don't know everything. Strong communicators can admit uncertainty without sounding insecure. You might say, I don't have all the answers, but here's my understanding. Or, my knowledge is limited in this area, but I'll share what I know. You could say, I may be mistaken, but from what I've read. Another honest phrase is, this isn't my field of expertise, though I'm familiar with the basics. Or simply, I'm still learning about this topic. These expressions help you sound professional, honest, and confident at the same time. Next, let's explore something deeply human, talking about emotional wounds and healing. Advanced speakers often open up about challenges, disappointments, or painful experiences using refined and gentle language. You might say, I'm still healing from past experiences, or some wounds take time to fade. You could reflect by saying, I've learned to forgive myself for what I didn't know back then. Another expression is, I'm working on rebuilding trust slowly but steadily. And with awareness, I've realized that healing isn't linear. These expressions allow you to communicate vulnerability in a mature and balanced way. Now let's shift into something equally powerful, expressing empathy through deeper understanding. Empathy means truly recognizing another person's emotional experience. You might say, I can imagine how difficult that must have been for you. Or, that sounds incredibly overwhelming. You could offer validation by saying, you didn't deserve to go through that. Another supportive phrase is, it's understandable that you feel this way. And finally, I'm really glad you shared that with me. It means a lot. Empathetic responses like these help you build trust, connection, and emotional depth in any conversation. Now let's move toward a topic advanced speakers often enjoy discussing, the human search for meaning and fulfillment. You might say, I'm searching for a life that feels meaningful, not just productive. Or, I've realized that success without fulfillment feels empty. You could reflect by saying, I'm trying to build a life that aligns with my values. Another thoughtful expression is, I want to contribute to something greater than myself. And with insight, I'm learning that fulfillment comes from growth, connection, and purpose. These expressions help you articulate the deeper layers of the human experience. Next, let's explore how to communicate uncertainty while remaining resilient in the face of challenges. You might say, I'm doing my best even though the outcome isn't clear. Or, I don't know what the future holds, but I'm staying hopeful. You could also say, I'm learning to adapt to unexpected changes. These phrases allow you to express uncertainty without fear and resilience without denial. I'm learning how to stay calm and grounded during uncertain situations. Even when things feel unclear or uncomfortable, I try not to panic. I remind myself that uncertainty is a normal part of life. I'm doing my best to stay present and focused instead of worrying too much about the future. I trust that with time, things will begin to make sense. These kinds of sentences show emotional strength, balance, and maturity, essential qualities for advanced English fluency. Now let's move into a new and important theme, talking about global perspectives. At advanced levels, you should be able to discuss the world, society, culture, and human behavior in a thoughtful and informed way. For example, you might say that people around the world are facing similar challenges, even though their situations may look different. You could reflect by saying that globalization has connected us more than ever, but it has also highlighted our cultural differences.
Another thoughtful idea is that cultural values strongly influence how different societies approach problems and make decisions. You might also observe that technology has changed how we communicate, work, and even how we see the world. And despite all our differences, humans everywhere share many of the same hopes, fears, and desires. Expressing ideas like these helps you participate meaningfully in international and cross-cultural conversations. Now let's explore another essential advanced skill, communicating maturity in difficult moments. In challenging situations, advanced speakers know how to express emotional control and discipline. You might say, I'm choosing to respond calmly rather than react emotionally. Or, I'm trying to handle this situation with grace. You could also say, I'm focusing on what I can control instead of stressing about everything. Another helpful expression is, I'm learning not to take things personally. And finally, I'm practicing patience and trust. These phrases help you express emotional intelligence and self-control in a natural way. Before we end this section, let's cover one final advanced skill, talking about purpose, passion, and long-term vision. At higher levels, you should be able to describe who you are becoming and what kind of life you want to build. You might say, I want to live a life driven by purpose, not pressure. Or, I'm trying to discover what truly energizes and fulfills me. You could reflect by saying, I'm committed to growing into the person I'm meant to become. Another powerful sentence is, I want my future to reflect both my values and my dreams. And finally, I'm building a vision for my life that feels authentic and meaningful. These statements help you articulate your identity and direction at a deep level. As we move closer to the end of this advanced English practice, let's explore a skill that truly distinguishes C1 to C2 speakers, intellectual conversation. At this level, you should be able to talk about big ideas, not just daily events. This includes ideas about society, human nature, personal growth, creativity, technology, culture, and the future. Fluent speakers often introduce these ideas using phrases like, one idea I've been thinking about lately is, or it's fascinating how, I've been reflecting on the relationship between. It raises an interesting question about what this really makes me wonder is, these expressions help you sound thoughtful and contribute meaningfully to deeper conversations. Now let's move into a powerful and relevant topic, how modern life affects our emotional well-being. Many people today talk about stress, digital overload, and the pressure to constantly succeed. You might say, life is moving faster than many of us can emotionally process, or the pressure to always improve can feel overwhelming. You could reflect by saying, technology has connected us, but it has also made us more distracted. Another common observation is many people feel mentally exhausted without fully understanding why. And a thoughtful response might be, I'm learning to create space for silence and mental rest. These expressions help you talk about modern life in a way that people across cultures can relate to. Now let's explore another essential concept, self-compassion. Many people are kind and understanding toward others, but very hard on themselves. Being able to talk about self-compassion shows emotional depth. You might say, I'm trying to be more patient with myself. Or, I'm learning not to criticize myself so harshly. You could also say, I'm giving myself permission to rest. Another gentle expression is, I'm practicing being kind to myself during difficult times. And finally, I'm learning to celebrate my progress instead of focusing only on my mistakes. These sentences show emotional growth and maturity. Now let's shift into another advanced skill, expressing complex contrasts. Life is full of contradictions, and advanced speakers often express two opposing feelings at the same time. For example, you might say, I feel grateful yet overwhelmed, or I'm confident but I still have moments of doubt. You could say, I'm excited about the future, yet nervous about what's ahead. Another honest statement is, I want to grow, but part of me fears change. And finally, I feel hopeful even though things are uncertain. These expressions sound realistic, emotionally intelligent, and deeply human. Next, we'll explore the language of deep reflection, where you learn how to slow down, think inward, and express your inner thoughts with clarity and calm confidence. Reflection is an important part of advanced communication because it shows depth of thought, wisdom, and self-awareness. When you reflect, you don't just describe what happened, you explain how it changed you and what you learned from it. Fluent speakers often use reflective language to look back on their experiences with understanding and calm insight. For example, you might say, looking back, I can see how much I've evolved. You could also reflect by saying, I didn't realize it at the time, but that moment shaped me. With maturity, you may say, I understand now why things unfolded the way they did. Another thoughtful sentence is, that experience taught me something I needed to learn. And finally, I'm grateful for the clarity I have today. These sentences make your English sound rich, meaningful, and emotionally intelligent. Now let's move into a topic that appears often in advanced conversations, the impact of environments on our behavior. Where you live, the people you spend time with, and the culture around you all influence how you think, feel, and act. Over time, we often become shaped by our surroundings without even noticing it. You might say, we become like the environments we spend time in. Some environments inspire us and bring out our best qualities, while others drain our energy and motivation. Another useful reflection is, the people around us shape our habits more than we realize. Many fluent speakers also say, sometimes a change of environment is the first step toward growth. You could also add, our surroundings influence our identity in subtle ways. These expressions help you explain complex ideas with nuance and clarity. Now let's explore maturity and emotional intelligence, two essential parts of advanced communication. Emotional intelligence means understanding your emotions and responding thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Advanced speakers often express this awareness in calm, reflective language. You might say, I'm learning to pause before reacting. Or, I've realized that not everything deserves my emotional energy. This kind of reflective language helps your English sound calm, deep, and confident, exactly what advanced communication is all about. I see the bigger picture much more clearly now. Expressions like this show insight, maturity, and personal growth. As we come to the final section of this advanced English practice, let's bring together everything you have been developing throughout this lesson: clarity, depth, emotional intelligence, natural expression, and confident communication. Let's begin this final part with a powerful and meaningful topic: seeing yourself with honesty and compassion. At the C1 and C2 level, this ability helps you communicate more sincerely and thoughtfully. Advanced speakers don't hide from their imperfections. Instead, they speak about themselves with balance and kindness. You might say, I'm learning to acknowledge both my strengths and my weaknesses. Another honest reflection is, I'm becoming more aware of the patterns that hold me back. You could also say, I'm trying to approach my flaws with understanding, not judgment. With growth comes pride, so you may say, I'm learning to be proud of how far I've come, or I'm giving myself credit for the progress I used to overlook. These expressions show emotional depth and maturity, which are key features of advanced communication. Now, let's shift into another meaningful topic: what truly matters in life. People all over the world reflect on meaning, fulfillment, and purpose, and these conversations naturally require more advanced language. You might say, I'm realizing that what matters most is inner peace. Another deep thought is, I've learned that meaningful relationships are worth more than anything material. You could also express, I'm focusing on creating a life that feels grounded and authentic. Many advanced speakers say, I value experiences that help me grow as a person, or I'm trying to live in a way that aligns with my values. These sentences help you express your deepest priorities clearly and naturally. Next, let's explore one of the most advanced communication skills, ending conversations with insight. Strong closing thoughts feel intentional and emotionally meaningful. Fluent speakers often end conversations in a way that invites reflection. You might say, in the end, we're all trying to figure things out as best we can. Another thoughtful closing is, at the heart of everything, we just want to live meaningfully. You could also say, when you look back, the small steps you take today will matter most. Some people reflect by saying, most of life is a balance between holding on and letting go, or the journey is just as important as the destination. These expressions help you conclude deep conversations with calm confidence. Now, let's move into a topic that ties everything together, the courage to keep growing. Growth is not always easy, but advanced speakers know how to talk about it honestly. You might say, I'm learning to take small steps even when I feel uncertain. Another powerful sentence is, I'm committed to becoming someone I'm proud of. You could also express, I'm learning to trust the process even when it feels slow. Many people say, I'm taking responsibility for my growth and my future. And finally, I'm choosing to believe that better days are ahead. These expressions show strength, clarity, and purpose. Now, let's pause for a final reflection. Think about everything you've learned, not only today, but throughout your entire English journey. You've improved your vocabulary, your emotional expression, your storytelling, your reasoning, your clarity, and your confidence. You've learned how to speak more naturally, thoughtfully, and authentically. And most importantly, you've learned to trust your voice in English. Let's explore one final advanced topic, the universal human experience, something every person in the world shares. You might say, we all experience moments of doubt, hope, and transformation. Another meaningful idea is, every person carries a story that shaped who they are today. You could also reflect, we're all trying to navigate life with the tools we have. Many people say, no one goes through life without challenges. And finally, what connects us is not perfection, but our shared humanity. These expressions allow you to speak with empathy and understanding, the true marks of fluent communication. Finally, let's close this long session with a message of encouragement. You've just spent 2 hours practicing advanced English with focus and intention, and that alone is something to be proud of. Fluency isn't built in a single day. It's built through consistent effort, curiosity, and the courage to keep going even when it feels difficult. Every small step matters. Every minute you invest brings you closer to the confident English speaker you want to become. Remember this, your voice matters, your thoughts matter, and your English journey is only beginning. Keep practicing, keep improving, keep believing in your ability to grow. I'm proud of the work you've done today, and I'm excited for everything you will achieve. And to end naturally, here's a warm closing line for your channel. Thank you so much for spending your time with me here on Feel Learns English. If this practice helped you, feel free to like the video and subscribe for more lessons like this. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.